Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Tales with TR, episode 178B. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr. We're now available on YouTube. Check it out under the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN, and lots of other great podcasts as well. Right now, I'm here with my co-star on Shoresy. Actually, I hate using that word, co-star. It implies that I'm a star, and that's not the case. But we're co-actors, let's say that. So Jacob, quote unquote, Fish Smith. Jacob, nice to have you here, buddy.
Always fun.
So how has your time off? So for those that don't know, I guess we shot season 2 in April, May. You've been back, I think, in Florida since, right? Am I wrong? Fill me in. How you been?
Yeah, it's been good. Married in Florida, for those that don't know. Just living the dream out there, having a good time, enjoying the beach.
What part?
About half an hour north of Fort Lauderdale, little town called Boynton Beach. Little town, about 50,000 people, right on the coast.
And you moved there because where are you from originally?
I'm from Sudbury,
You're
I'm
Sudbury.
from here, born and raised. Lived in Kingston after, started my hockey career in Kingston for the Frontenacs and all that stuff, and then traveled around, and then after that I just met Olivia, and then from there we just said, okay, let's go live in Florida if that's where she's from. So
Wow,
yeah.
interesting.
Yes.
From Sudbury to Florida. What was your favorite part of season 2?
Favorite part, filming or this watching it?
Watching.
Favorite part, I'm a sucker for the end of the season when they have the recap of everything that happened. I just love that. I think it touches me emotionally. It just throws me back to when we filmed it, and I just really enjoy those parts.
Yeah, it honestly, he's got a way about him. That's what I said for Jarrett to be able to make, like, I get emotional watching it. And when I read, to be honest with you, when I read this, but I got really, really emotional at the end of this one, where I'm talking about season 3, folks. For those watching on YouTube, we all get presented these. This is basically season 3. Well, it is. It's all the scripts. And we read through. So now some of it hit home at the end because I've known guys. I've had, it reminded me of certain people, a couple that aren't with us anymore. And it sort of added a little bit of punch, when it comes to a somber tone. But it's funny. And what I find genius about it, really, I don't throw that word around, but for a show that, it's a lot of it's Shoresy's chirps, and you might even, there's comedy, but it veers towards like the crude at times, and it's hard to bring a show like that back to that point that you speak of. I often, like Dennis Leary in Rescue Me, he often could make a joke out of such a negative and somber and tragic situation, being like 9/11 and firefighters, but within there, like, you to be able to marry such an emotional roller coaster, I think is really hard to do in 6 episodes, and Jarrett's done it twice, and it looks like he's going to do it again. You, as an actor, because you are now, you're in the union, right? You got in?
Yeah.
Okay. What would be your goal beyond this? I'm curious because I was the only one really in the acting union, and I didn't think of myself as an actor. It was a job I had at home. I was crew more than anything. And again, it gave me a chance to go in and do the odd stunt and get paid a bit more for it. That's really the only reason. But now that we're actually probably going to get some opportunities, are you looking to pursue it beyond this?
I think so. Jared and I had a conversation last year where he gave me a couple phone numbers to talk to agents and whatnot, and there's one that I want to work with going into the new year. So it's definitely something, but it hasn't been that calling, that little pull that's like, okay, it's time now. I haven't wanted to throw myself completely into it, and I know what show business is like from being in it, and I know how much of a grind it is, and the auditions and certain roles you got to play, and it's just not quite pulling me in that direction yet. Now, that being said, I haven't been in it a while. I don't know what it's like, and maybe I can try my hand at it, but right now I'm just happy where it's at with Shoresy, and maybe in the future it's again, Andrew and Dola, we talk about it too, about like we're not actors by trade, and they're thinking about, pursuing something. I mean, I don't know, Dola's got his music, so maybe not him, but Andrew's always talked about it, but nothing like super concrete in the future. So.
Yeah, you're young too, and it's great because something like this, I don't think there's many professions, and it is a grind. I love to use that word. People have no idea how much of a grind. They have no idea how much of a grind it is. They don't. I'm forever grateful. It's a unreal job. Let's be serious, but it's a grind. And if you want to give everything to being a full time, but it's a grind. It's a grind. Where was I going with that? God. Oh, so I find it with the acting in the film industry, like now it's something that you can pop back into. Like I'm not explaining this well. If I have a trade, I don't know, a welder, a plumber. I don't know if I'm a lawyer. If I'm a teacher, it's hard to remove yourself from any of those professions. Try something else and then go back. Oh, okay. I think I want to be a lawyer again, right? Or yeah, I'm going to go back now to my welding job. Well, we needed you then. Now we don't. It's going to be hard to get a job again, whatever it might be. But when it comes to acting, because each season of a film or each movie, they're little spurts. It's a grind, but that's why there's time off and a good amount of it on sets, because it's so much of a grind. But and where was I going? Oh, but yes, you can go a month or two at a time, right? And then you can kind of come out and come back in, and then you can kind of see which should I work on this, or maybe I'll audition for this, or maybe there's a crew job here. So for you, I didn't take that like you don't realize the opportunity. You're just thinking like I'm not going to give it everything right now. And you seem to be someone that goes all in when you're passionate about something.
Exactly, 100%. And that's another thing too. And where I was talking about the grind, it's a grind to be here for 6 weeks. It's a lot of fun. I mean, there's people who grind in the mines. There's people who grind, doing a million list of jobs. I'm not saying it's a terrible job being an actor, but I'm saying a grind in between jobs, like the having to audition and put yourself out there and get the constant no's and, just kind of meet new people and do that thing. Like, I mean, the process in that is, it's a grind, because now you got to keep an eye on the way you look and how you represent yourself. And like, I don't know, it's just kind of like very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's very like self-centered. Like it's very self-centered.
I know what you mean. And look, when I say grind, the biggest thing that was wild, you use that word, and I was trying to think of it because, yeah. I mean, I guess you could associate that with a lot of jobs, but I find, and I'm into it, like Fish. When I go back, I do have this pod, but like I go back, I audition for, and for those that don't know, I get like one thing for every 10 I audition for. Yeah. That's a grind, and you're always working, and you don't know when you're going to get paid again. So, like, I don't know. I know a lot of actors that if they're really into it, which you should be, if that's your profession, you're always you're looking for different roles. You're reading scripts. You're reading how to be a better actor. I take lessons on the side. You're always kind of like it's hard to separate yourself at any point of the day because oh, okay, that paid well, but I better get this or else I'm not working for 3 weeks. Maybe not 2 months if I don't get, that's kind of what I mean.
Like the contracting idea of it and having to be on, certain month-to-month stints. Like even for this, it's like, okay, well, like, it's up in the air right now with season 4. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if we knew like, oh yeah, we're 100%.
Totally. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. Right. Then you'd be like, okay, you kind of plan around it.
Yeah, exactly. I know I have X amount of money coming in 6 months from now. It's not like that, right? You have to kind of, it's all on what production wants. And yeah, it's just an interesting industry to get myself into. So if I'm going to dive in 100%, I think it's something I have to be 100% on. It's not something I can just dip my toe in and be like, yeah, I want to be an actor, but I don't really want to do these auditions. And I don't really want to put myself out there on social media. And I don't really want to have to go through all this stuff. It's like, no, you got to go through the anxieties and everything. Where's the next paycheck coming from? Like there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't understand. So.
Yes, it's actually really interesting. I never used to watch the, you get the DVDs. No one gets them anymore, obviously. But there are ways to watch like the making of, and I just say DVDs because each one would have like a little bit added to it. It might be just 5 minutes, but it's like a little bit about the make. I watch those all the time now because I have a better appreciation for what goes on, and it is quite interesting. I find it all really interesting. There's so many departments. There's full departments that you wouldn't even think are there, and that there's like 20 people in there. Anyway, moving on. Your first school dance. Do you remember when it was?
What a question. I do. Yeah. So I was probably grade 7 or 8, I
Yeah.
think it was. And yeah, that was just an interesting time. Like, where are you getting at with that? Like, you want to know, like,
Oh,
what
I
it
was just
like?
curious. I don't know. You look like was your hair always long? You're a good-looking guy. You seem to always give off a positive vibe, even if you're in a bad mood. You have that way about you, and you seem to me like you'd be grooving. You'd be one of the first people on the dance
Yeah, I appreciate
scene.
that. Maybe the confidence wasn't as high when I was younger, but now looking back, I remember it when you said that this would have came to mind. So it was everybody wanted to dance with like 3 of the girls, right? That's a standard. I'm preaching to a lot of people right now. I'm telling the story of a lot of
Yeah.
grade 7s and grade 8s. There's about 3 or 4 girls that is like, oh, listen, I'll dance with the 7th or 8th, but like the top 3 is like that's where the milk and honey. But so we wanted to see if we could dance, and there dance with one of them. And then I remember thinking, like, man, it would be really nice if I could dance with the second one. I ended up dancing with the second one, and then, but I have all these thoughts running through my head when you said that, but it wasn't as like get down and dance kind of situation. It was more about like, let's see how many girls I can dance with back
Yeah,
then,
totally. It's all about perspective.
It's crazy. Yeah, yeah. That was a wild time. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of perspective, because you're either like one dance. If I think back, and not that I was even thinking about this, but until you just said that, like there's one that I remember, Def Leppard. I remember like the dance and everything. I was just kind of, but the two that I'm talking about, the real early grade 6, it was for me. The 2 others that I was chasing a girl, I don't remember anything about the songs. It was just all about. Okay, first of all, I wasn't like eager to dance because it was just terrible dancing, terrible.
Really, you a terrible dancer?
Those grade 6, it was just girls line up on this side, guys on the other, and just like back and
Oh,
forth.
hand on the shoulders.
Yeah, real terrible kind of stuff. You're not even really dancing. No. But I remember that, trying to overcome my fear to do it.
Yeah.
To do that, I remember going all in, and I was terrified. Like, I hate heights. Like I was riding a roller coaster. But I always went for it.
Now things are different.
Yeah, no, at a point, they were like it for a while though, like a while, like even when I first even was in pro and everything. But at some point, I just at some point, each trial and error and experience, people experience. I'm not saying it's any more successful, but my feelings, my anxiety, because anxiety, people say anxiety. There are many situations in life, and sometimes it's not overall anxiety. I get a lot of it, right? Like I always have. I'm highly strung. Some of it's nervous energy. I channel it well. I'm not complaining about it, but I'm saying once I started to have confidence and realize, like, if I strike out, which I did lots, but many girls would prefer me, just to be honest, and go up and, hey, you're pretty, really. I don't know much about you, but I hope you're nice as well. Do you want to drink? Or whatever it would be. But after a while, then I found that and that, I think, gives you confidence for other things,
trial and error. Yeah. Oh,
exactly. So I'm not trying to present this like I'm Mr. Big Wheel. But definitely, I think that I definitely think I became a little bit more successful with women after that, because they can pick up on that, and they'd rather just not all of them, I know, but some would just rather, okay, sure, you asked.
It's the old adage that's like, after 10,000 hours, you're an expert at something or whatever. It's like you work hard at anything, you get good at it. But I mean,
it's funny
having to talk about girls and dancing. But
well, or I could say that about. Buying a car. I know I could say about buying a car. I found that really, I didn't like the process because I could never talk someone down. I could never, like, I didn't like that. Like, it's very similar. Same thing. No sexual goal. This was just like something that happens in life. certain situations, you know, you can actually talk somebody down. We're talking about a lot of money, so it's smart. You've got to do it. It's not like sunglasses on the beach somewhere down south, right? You're talking about something that's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. And I would go in and, geez, I'd walk out of there and they'd sell me extra stuff.
Yeah, I know. I got that.
You know, yeah. But then after a while,
Yeah,
right,
man.
you're like, okay, listen, Paul,
100%.
come on. I
Yeah.
know you got your job to do and I
Yeah.
do, but I'm going to say this, you're going to say that. Where
Yeah.
can we honestly meet? And it becomes normal to do that.
Oh, man.
That's why I often say, like, when kids are like interviewed, like I know myself, I know, like I remember there being a camera in my face and it's fine, like whatever. I'm talking about, say, the Montreal Canadiens thing. And even just a few years later, but now I'm going, like, there was no business asking me anything other than like what was going on in the hockey on the ice that day. Like, so much of me has changed. It's, and I get what it's almost not embarrassing, but it's amazing to me that I lived in that body, and it's pre everything I just told you, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like that's just
Yeah.
two little parts of life
Yeah.
that and there's so many other
Oh,
things.
yeah. The elements.
I'll tell you this.
Imagine you wrote a book.
You could write a book. I told you.
Yeah, I will. Maybe one day.
You really could.
We'll see.
And
I think now my book would be.
you know what
pretty
I'd like?
interesting.
Yeah, it would be. But what
Yeah.
I'd like it to be, I would like it to be this. If you could ever, this is my idea. Okay. So Fish and I talk about, and I don't want to get this. I told him before, we're not going to talk about religion and existentialism and everything because I do it a lot. The other day I went off on something, and I don't want to do that. I'll do it in the future, and we did it all last time.
Private conversation.
But yes, more of a private conversation. But you know, like me, like you know, the religious side. I mean, I grew up Catholic school and everything. Now, I said, I'm spiritual. I believe, my just personal belief, that all the religions are kind of onto something. But there's some higher power that I just can't tie it to anything. These individual stories of in each religion, I don't really buy. But that's me. But what I'm saying is that there's, and you've seen the world from both sides too.
Mhm.
So the common denominator, like I would like, because you could go like, for every person that's like heavy into faith, that let's just say we're Christian, let's just say Catholic, right? You could take a story there, and then you could take a story from an agnostic that's got a really similar thread, right? And then you could take a story from a Buddhist,
Mhm.
and then a story from an atheist, but yet it's like, and maybe focusing on the common denominators rather than, because I find the crazy thing about religion is that most of them are meant to unite, but the first thing brought up is the differences between them. When the similarities are so obvious and full of love, right?
Who's right? Who's wrong?
Yes.
Yeah, I think religion is more of an idea, where spirituality is more of an experience.
And now you know what? Okay, let's remember this. Where are we? 1810. Because that right there, like if you were famous like Ty Cobb or something, he used to get all his quotes, you know, there's quotables and everything. That right there could be a t-shirt. I don't remember what you just said even, but
Yeah.
smoked a little bit of a joint myself before we started. Religion is more about something, and spirituality is about the experience.
Religion's more of an idea, where spirituality is more of an experience.
God, I'm telling you, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's real good. Yeah. If this was an interview right now, that would be the quote in the paper tomorrow.
Yeah. That's just been my experience.
Mhm.
It's simple as that. And I don't, throughout my experience, I won't get too much into detail. Maybe we can have a part 2 of this and we can go into that. But
yeah,
it's just, I think that's all that needs to be said for those who, want to know what the thread is. Everybody has a different experience spiritually, and they tie it to an idea, which is religion.
yeah, yeah. And you know what I do a lot. So like I said, I'm intrigued by religion, and I think if it just knowing nothing, and going in Buddhism, or at least little shards of it, because again, there's different factions of each religion. It is a lot about energy and everything's kind of connected in the universe, and the living things anyway. Like then there's positive energy to give off, and I'm really lightly tiptoeing here, but that's kind of so. But for a while, it was like pick a mantra. Say, I'm into the Beatles, and George Harrison clearly went through some kind of life change when he went and saw the Maharishi, and just opened
Well, with
himself
the
to different cultures and
LSD
different
and the
religions.
mushrooms
Yeah,
and all
right.
that.
And yeah, all that. So, but and then they came up with a mantra and everything. And I used to honestly try that. I tried meditating, not searching for anything. I was just
Mhm.
curious about these things because since 18, I'm fascinated when I'm a kid, but I'm just saying, since like when I was 18, I looked back at going to Catholic school and everything, and like I said, it fascinated me more than anything. But anyway, what it ended up being, so for me, say, like I often turn off all the lights, okay, and put on soothing music. For me, I love Mazzy Star. There's an album, So Tonight, that I might see. Mazzy Star, like real tranquil kind of, I don't even know, dream-like music.
Right.
And but sometimes it might be um the Beatles or whoever. It's usually slower, really kind of, like I said, dreamy like songs. Could be a Van Morrison album.
Yeah.
But I do that, helps me breathe better.
Mhm.
And then I realized, I'm like, when I do that, I'm achieving what all these people, when I'm reading what they're doing.
Mhm.
So we're not all
Feels like, yeah,
right, that,
it's the
yeah,
experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
And say and when I some of the songs might
Mhm.
remind me of one of my buddies that passed on, let's say BJ Young.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do it knowing it. And I know that I can have a closer, like, I'll go, okay, like, because it's just really about me relaxing
Mhm.
and I turn off the lights, and I might turn on, I don't know, Hotel California, that me and him used to listen to when we were
Yeah.
billeted together. And, and it's a different experience, and
Yeah.
it brings me a little bit closer to
I
him.
feel what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's in itself a
Well,
little bit spiritual,
I
yes.
I
But
don't I don't care who you are and how much you can scoff at somebody who's believes in religion or believes in spirituality. At the end of the day, we're spiritual. Like I don't think you can't discredit 95% of the population. You can't do it. You just, the way you experience. I could sit down with you for 3 days straight, and I promise you, at the end of those 3 days, we'll see something spiritual within you where you're not going to
yeah,
believe for anything short of that. So those spiritual experiences are still moving through you, whether you want to be a UFC fighter and who doesn't want to allow
yeah.
themselves to go there, or a fireman. I don't works in the mine and like, oh, your buddies. Like at the end of the day, we're spiritual beings. So like, to me, I find so much interest and intrigue in that. So I could talk about that forever. But anyways, that's just
No, that's great. And I find it's always an open-minded conversation
right.
with you. That's why I think you're a real smart guy. So,
Appreciate
speaking of the car dealership, so did I tell you what happened last year? I was going to buy. Remember, I just told you I get nervous. I used to around the car salesman,
like dealing with money.
dealing with money. So, but last year, so I walked in.
Before you start the story, do you think car dealers, like the salesmen, know how intimidated we are when we go in? Because I just bought a car last year too. Do you think they know? Because I feel like they want to sell the car, but the process of going in and buying the car, knowing you're gonna full well and they're trying to negotiate, is intimidating.
I
And they
know.
have the cards. We think we have the cards
I
because we're
know.
coming in with the money, but like
See, I know. I totally. I've thought about this. Like,
Mhm.
and if I was, what, knowing what I know, what I think, then if someone walked in and I was a car salesman, I would honestly go over and go, listen, like, here's my card.
first,
Here's my card. I get it. I know you don't want to be hounded. I wouldn't either.
yeah,
But there are nice cars here. You wouldn't have walked in.
yeah,
Here's my card. If you need me, I'm over there.
that's it.
But I'm not going to hound you.
Yeah,
That's the way I would do it. But I've
that's the
never
way
been
you handle
approached like
women
that.
too.
So they must. Well, I guess there's a similar thread. There's a similar thread. Yeah. I've often kind of said that though.
Balls in your cart.
I've
Yeah.
said that. Yeah. And with girls that play the the game, like guys do it too, but
Yeah.
they you send them a message, they don't get back to you, like it's a big thing for 2 days or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, oh
Here it is.
yeah,
Anyways,
oh, I
continue.
kind of, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
sorry, I go down that road.
I cut you off. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I walk into the car dealership last year, remember, because I was looking for the white Jeep for Penny Lane.
Yep.
And I promised Penny Lane this white Jeep. Now, knowing that Jeeps are expensive, even used ones, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a chance to really do this. But she saw the movie Frozen, so I guess she was 2. Like, this was like 2011 or 12. And ever since that, I don't know why I put the two together, but I remember loving a white Jeep, right? We used to put the dolls in there, and she associated it with the show Frozen, even though there's no fucking Jeeps in Frozen, Disney. But so for that long, we've been saying it.
Yeah.
Right. But then I went through, Danielle and I lost our house. I moved to Ontario, like we got divorced. She was renting, I was renting a place like a pit for like $600. There was no chance I was even going to get a house, let alone a Jeep. We were paying off bills, it was stupid stuff. We did it together. Like Danielle and I always embraced that. Like we took some chances. We just invested it poorly, our money. And anyway, what's done is done. But then I started to, Momoa really helped me get into the acting side, and I started making a little bit of money. And when Danielle moved 3 years ago now to be, she just came home, but she moved to Alberta for 2 years. And at first it was a move. I went to my lawyer and I said, she can take Penny Lane. Now, it never got to this, but I just, as a parent, putting a fence up.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, it'd help if you had a house. And I found this nice little, it's tiny, but there's a story behind it. But anyway, I found this place and then I had a house. So I bought it. So it's only 650 square feet, but it's perfect. We love it. It's got a fire pit out back. There's a little trail and a river going through. It's awesome. And so that was season 1, kind of helped with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we were doing season 2, I figured, okay, now it's possible that I can afford this, because I'm getting the pod made more advertising. I was always, like I said, nervous, like we talked about with the acting. I was like never ready to do that. And I owed so much from previous that it just didn't seem possible.
Yeah.
But then right through this and then doing some appearances and stuff, it was, when I do these appearances, you know what I mean? You get paid in clumps. Like you might not do one for 3 weeks, but then you get paid $3,500 for, so it's like, but then I was like, okay, so each time that would happen, I would put it, and I'm like, okay, now I got enough money to put down.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want any more than $200 payments every couple of weeks. I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
So I saw one last year when we were talking about it in the room. Remember? I said, I'm going to go in and ask about it.
Was that the one in Oakville? Is that?
Well, no. The one in Oakville was the one I nearly bought. You got you got a great memory.
Wow.
Oh, you're seeing the board clearly.
My wife would beg to differ. But
well, no, that is the one in Oakville. God, I only mentioned that in passing, but that's the one I nearly got. The one there was a one here at a place not far from where we're sitting, and so I walked in. Okay, they didn't come over and help me, and I was like, okay, and I waited, and I went, hey, sir, and I waited. Okay, and do you remember this?
Yeah.
So I was over there. I grabbed a couple of mints out of the jar. I was chewing on them, sitting on the couch there, waiting for these people. Right in the dealership, with there's cars in there. There's a secretary, and there's people walking around, and there's nobody in there. And I'm in and out like 15 minutes. Anyway, the guy comes over, and he asks me to leave, and I'm like, that's not very fucking nice. I came in here. What, you don't think I can buy a car? And then I thought about it. Okay, so we just come from. I was in only for an hour that day. Really rare. Usually we're on set for at least 12. We can go 15. You got to go in and do it all. And they might as well get all your scenes in one day, right? So, I mean, they want to do it the best way they can. The money, time, whatever is the most efficient. So it's very rare that you go in for one scene in the morning. It's usually when they fucked up. But anyway, it was one of those days. So I'd had no tooth in. You know those gloves I wear with
the fingers,
the fingers out?
The fingerless gloves.
Yes. And then I had that backpack on that had a patch on it. And I was in there going to town. I was starving. But, Max was waiting for me in the car, and we were going over to A&W after because it was something close. We had to go back for pictures or something.
Max was in the car the whole time?
Max was coming to get me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we were going somewhere. I forget. And, yeah. But anyway, I know that we were going to eat somewhere close right after. Anyways, but I was starving, so they had mints and stuff. So not only did they think I was a hobo, they thought I was in there for the free food, right? It was cookies, and then there was a coffee. So I grabbed, it was little cookies, coffee, and then a few mints. And I went over, and I was just munching on them. Yeah, and the guy asked me to leave. And so, so I left.
You didn't say what?
I did afterwards, yeah. I went over. I didn't realize it. I'm telling you, I didn't realize it till I got out of there. And I believe it was Max, yeah.
But the red flag wasn't him asking you to leave?
No, I didn't think about it. I just said what I thought it was a time thing, or they were acting like they were too busy. I
Oh,
still didn't put it together, and I was like, well, that's not you don't. And then I thought maybe he thinks I'm a student and I'm wasting their time because I had like Vans on and a
yeah,
backpack. I'm not aware of my own like I'm not aware of, obviously, no self awareness.
yeah.
If I just looked in the mirror,
But you think
right?
he could have still asked you, like, what, like, are you
I
looking for a car? You know, like the
It didn't
first thing
get
he
it was
said
no no
was,
yeah,
"Get out."
I don't know what the first thing he said, but it wasn't anything about a car. I asked him first. Like he came remotely over like
Yeah,
in my direction, and I was like, "Hey, I'm here." Like you even and I said, I just curious about a white Jeep,
yeah.
right? Now, then I don't know where he went. He came back shortly after. I guess maybe he went and asked somebody, and they assumed that I wasn't in the position to buy one. I really don't know.
Wow.
And then he just came out and said, "No, we're just gonna have to ask you to leave." And I was like, "Well, fuck you then." Like, and then I was like, "Well, I said something really sarcastic, or I might have even cursed." But
Wow.
then I thought, now I'm out anyway, so I'll just leave.
Yeah.
And when I explained this story to Max, he's like, "Dude, you look like a hobo." Ah, so funny.
Did you go back
I ended up going back. Yeah,
and then like
I
you
went back
cleaned
to make a
yourself up a
point.
little bit,
No, I went back like way later. I went back like at the
looking
end.
worse? That's what you should have done. You should have went back looking worse.
I went
Like
no,
ripped shirt.
I went back like no, we were like it was a few days. We might even have been earlier that day that we had the wrap party,
Oh, also your
and I had
hair,
like a Shoresy thing
the
on,
hair, the
and
shaved sides,
you know what,
mullet.
yeah, I had, but when I went in then, and there was a couple people in there the next time, and it was a guy like looking to buy a truck or something with his son, and they recognized me,
Oh,
and it was beautiful
yeah, that's
because I
awesome.
wouldn't have said like I'm never gonna go. Do you know who I am? Because we're
Yeah,
nobody, but. I'm like I hope he knows that like we do a lot for this community.
right,
We're Shoresy. I don't mean it from like I'm an actor kind of
right,
thing,
right,
but we bring a lot of work here, and
sure,
everybody recognizes that.
yeah.
And I'm walking in, and these people are acknowledging our
Disrespected.
show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The other ones, yeah,
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 right, yeah, yeah,
acknowledging
yeah.
the show.
Those people, and now,
Yeah,
but anyway,
yeah.
and he didn't even really apologize.
Is that where you got the white Jeep?
No, I ended up getting it at home. I looked, and there was one in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, and I couldn't get to drive all these. So like I started looking at them all over Canada, but then I'm like, unless I get someone there to test drive it. And I had a good buddy there, Darren Colburn, great hockey player, East Coast League Hall of Fame, and he hooked me up. And it was so awesome though. I got it beyond. I picked up Penny Lane, and she had no idea. She couldn't believe it. We took the
What a
top
moment.
off. Like she was smiling. She couldn't hold in the smile.
Yeah.
When few times that happens. Yeah, she was just so
Wow.
surprised.
Amazing.
What's the worst injury you ever had?
Uh so probably a concussion, to be honest with you.
Oh, they're horrible.
Yeah, so I was going in. This is my first year Laurentian. Says my stats say 7 games in. It was my 5th game. I was scratched, but I was still in the roster when I was in groin injury. But so anyways, 7th game into the season, I was going to get the puck. For some reason, I was covering for the D man, so I was the first one in. They dump and chase, and I was facing the board, looking over my shoulder, and it was a combination of getting cross checked from behind and hitting a rut right before the boards, and I went head first in the boards, and I
Oh God,
blacked. Like, I'm so lucky I didn't break a
you're
vertebrae or
lucky.
anything. Like, amazing. It's in pieces, and then I just remember skating off the ice, and I couldn't keep my balance. I couldn't see anything. I was taken to the room, and yeah, I don't even remember much. I took the whole rest of the year off of hockey. It was
It's horrible.
it was more my decision. Like, I could have probably forced it, but like, we weren't totally great that season, and it was nice for me to take a year off hockey after taking it so serious for such a long time. And I was never like extremely passionate about it. I more used it to have fun, and it was like I was good at it, so I just got a degree out of it, all that stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was Halloween
of
night
course.
2019. No, 16, 15, something. It's
Well,
a bad one. Concussions are real
real
deal, man.
bad. I'm surprised people don't break their necks more in hockey.
It's crazy.
Even if you took like hitting and everything, I'm just surprised. Like you said, you know how many times that it has happened over the years. Like I skate a lot, even at like rec hockey. If there's a nick, and then
Yeah,
You hit it and then you go into the
Crazy.
boards.
Yeah.
Like I know, like I just think worldwide that doesn't happen more.
I don't know.
Like like
Yeah.
the hit that you took, if that's a different way,
Yeah.
I've done it. Gone. Oh my god! If I was just over like that, if my neck was
Yeah.
3 inches like that, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
How many times have you crashed into the boards, lost your edge or whatever? Like it's a thing, and it's crazy. But anyways, I remember there was a girl I was hanging out with at the time, and I knew everything that was going. I came back to after like 20 minutes, half hour. I knew everything that was going on, but there was a part of my brain that wasn't lit up yet, and it was the girl's name. I knew I was supposed to hang out with her. I knew what we were doing that night, but I couldn't think of her name for the life of me. What a random part of your brain not to light up.
But I know what you mean. It happens though.
Can't
Yeah.
remember that much.
Yeah. Especially right after I got like that wouldn't post-concussion syndrome is weird, but at first when it first happens
Yeah.
and you get knocked out, yeah, I've had guys the same sort of thing. Just Mark Hurley and Jr. and he was looking at me. He was like he was looking through me, but he was being coherent, everything. And then I'm like, okay, well, now we're going to go to your billet's house, the hardest, or I think it was the Hardesties. Who? I'd be like, well, obviously you know where we're going. And I'm like, how do you remember all of that?
Yeah.
How do you remember this rink that we're in?
Yeah.
And we're on the team.
Yeah. But the little
if we're on the team and you're half the time that you spend on this team, you're at your billets.
Yeah.
How do you not remember one and the other? But I know it's really
concussions are weird. Yeah.
Very. Can you explain something to me? I'm curious. Okay. I don't know if you're the one to explain it, but you're a smart guy, so I don't know if you've ever actually thought about it. But you know that AI is here now. I know, but AI is infiltrating every facet of society, at least in the culture that we're in. 100%. So, and the area that we're in. So now I hear people say it on TV and they go like, and these are well-respected scientists. These are like people that like run Google and have stepped down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people saying it's going to be the end of us. And like, here's what, so let's just say this is what I did. This is one thing I don't like about AI say is that, you know how normally I didn't do it today because it's last minute, but you know, I normally do a big thing. And when I open, I do a little rhyme, a catchy thing or whatever at the very beginning, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is so-and-so. And I'll go through this huge intro, right? And it'll be a little bit of a poem, you know, a little bit of wordplay. And then one of my listeners sent me a message, say a couple months ago, and it was that. And I said, oh, wild. I don't remember that one, but yeah, cool. And he goes, no. I reproduce this with AI.
Oh.
So he goes, I suck at writing poems, but he goes, look, I just did what you do. And it was like, oh, it looks exactly like I wrote it. Like even the little nuances to the writing.
Yeah.
I'm going, holy fuck. What'd you do there? And he's like, whatever he said, he just gave it like 3 examples of my intros.
Yeah.
Whatever it did. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going, okay. It's like when the writers and the actors just went on strike. Like it's not all about what people think that it's money. It is money. It's a lot of part. But another thing is the likeness and everything. Like because we're entering that territory that like there was just a computer generated movie and it was good. So like if they can write like what it's sad that we're getting to the point that you wouldn't like if I can be William Shakespeare, if that guy down there that works at the gas station that's never taken an English course can be William Shakespeare. That's the scary part to me, right? How do we where does integrity fall in and how do we see what's authentic?
Right.
And when it comes to creativity, I'd rather it be human. Okay. There's that. Then there's like the Will Smith End of the World movie, whatever that is, or fucking Legend or World War Z or whatever these are. So then there's that, right? And then there's just the internet is connected and robots are going to beat us in a war.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what is because they're all the way they're explaining it. I always thought it was the violence part. Robots are going to, but the experts that I've been seeing, they're like, no, that's not it. It's AI infiltrating everything. And I don't understand. Okay, but how? Like, is there a how? Like, what are they just going to? Is it fake stuff? Is it like being able to be the president and a fake message and
Yeah, I'm sure that's already going on.
yeah, you'd figure, right?
Like fake videos. Like, think of how far technology is to our knowledge, and then think of like how much they haven't shown us. You know
Yeah.
how much they have behind the scenes, like the people, what they're developing right now. It's a crazy time. So I think, just for example, like small thing, like university's dead.
Yeah.
How are you gonna vet an essay now?
No, I know. That's
What is that? What is the process to vetting an essay? Now, if a kid's an idiot and says, "Okay, let me type up an essay," and then not read it over, and then the woman goes, or the professor, man, it
yeah.
doesn't have to be a woman. I don't know why I said woman, but the professor goes, "Okay, now what was it about? Explain it to me. How'd you get your facts?" Then you got a kid backed up in the corner. But if he's a smart enough kid and he doesn't want to put the whole effort in, hours and hours of research, and he just types in ChatGPT and reads it back and forth, that takes 10, 15 hours out of the deal. And how are you going to do that? And then you talk about like, hearing devices like AirPods and stuff to like this. I cheated like this in university. I'm pretty sure I talked myself, pre-recorded myself the answers, put an AirPod in, put my long hair, put hair over my ear, and then I can hear myself.
That's brilliant. I haven't heard of that
But
one.
I'm saying, like, there's just technology will be, I'm just using university as an example. It's a small snippet, it's a small thing, but like you can do that everywhere. Look at all the jobs that are going to start getting chopped down.
Yeah.
From
a lot
from that. And not everybody's going to just go into turn into coders or technological, guy. I don't know where I'm going with
No, I know what you mean.
What I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. It's gonna
like the only jobs that'll be left are going to be the ones that you need to be in front of a computer to do. And at the end of the day, if you're in front of a computer to do it, and there's things like ChatGPT, then they don't even need you. They could just get the computer to automate the system at the end of the day,
which will
in very short time.
Yeah, it'll change the trajectory of what a human even looks like.
Yep.
Right? You're just going to be sitting around all day. It's going to be a lot.
100%.
Yeah.
Hunchback. Like, you look at all the, is it scoliosis, the spinal thing? Like, people, like, you could see the from having their head down so much and sitting, the bump on the back of their neck in so many people. I don't know. I noticed that lately, especially living in the States and stuff. I see it. I don't see it too much here. It's the same thing, but
no, I know what you mean.
It's an interesting time.
Do you see this the rookie in the NBA, Wembanyama, the 7'4", over 7'4"? Have you seen him?
Yeah, I've heard about him, but
so I'm curious.
Watched.
This is just a statement, but I like, he can just, like, he just puts his hands up.
Yeah.
Like, an alley-oop is one thing, but usually you would have to time it. The guy, or at least receiving, would have to time it.
Yeah.
He's just going and standing by the net, and they're just firing it up there. Like, they're just chucking it anywhere in that direction.
Yeah, it's a cheat code.
Yeah. And it's cheat code. So I thought about it. I'm like, as time goes on, right? Like, there's more. Like Manute Bol in the 80s was 7'2" or something, and he didn't play. He's from Ethiopia, I think, and they just went and like found him and brought him over and taught him how to play basketball. Because if you're that tall, so like at some point, what if the whole league is 7'4"? They're gonna have to make
Can you genetically modify?
Well,
DNA?
that's a great. No, you can. Yes,
Okay, yeah.
And that is now you're
like
getting
very
ethics.
Rich people are doing.
That's an ethics course for sure. That's the first thing. The second, the much lighter fluff side of that. Do you think at any point they're going to have to make the nets bigger in the NBA?
Oh, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, we were maybe on.
No, I like what you're saying.
Yeah,
I wanted to go where you were saying.
I mean, then they're just people that just get bigger. Like, I don't know how they would handle that.
Well, every other sport, like, I don't know, hockey, the net's the net, the goalie can be the goalie. I don't think you're not. Just think of every other sport.
Goalie equipment.
But in
goalie
football,
equipment was added.
Yeah, and you can check. But in basketball, really, if you're 7'4", clearly you can just score every time. So
yeah,
then it's an empty net you're shooting on.
Maybe there's a height limit.
So
put a height standard.
Like Steph Curry is an unreal shooter. But at some point, if everybody was going around 7'4", why would you even do that? You just give it to somebody to just throw it. Like, is him dunking even a highlight? It's just putting, like, how easy is that?
Yeah.
It's just you know, it's
Well-
like me putting. It's honestly like me putting that orange peel in that wastebasket. Like it's not even athletic for him. So if
Yeah, I
everybody
don't
was like, at some point,
Yeah.
if that works, they'll just go around. And I'm certainly not worried about it. I'm just wondering, in a major sport, it's the only situation I can think of that you might have to alter the entire game is one thing, but you
Well,
know,
in
the height of the
baseball-
net.
In baseball, they made the fields bigger.
Here's the thing in baseball. Good that you brought that up. What I find crazy about baseball is that like everybody, you know, loves the home run record and everything, and I do too. It's always intriguing. I mean, who can put the ball out of the, you know, it's why same thing with fastest pitch. I think those are two like raw human accomplishment. How fast can I throw this? You know, 103, 104 now. A lot of them are throwing it, which is crazy. And then, you know, how far can I hit this, right? Just any idiot over the course of time would probably see those. So I do love that about baseball. But I find it funny that baseball, each park can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that? Like Texas, I think it's Texas. They have like the outfield when it gets real deep into the center field.
Yeah.
There's like an incline, like
Yeah.
you're going up, and there's like a little garden over in the like,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
you could
Boston-
go, yeah, in Boston. Well, we're gonna go with the
Just
Green Monster. It's
put a
only gonna be
big
290
wall
down
up.
the line, but the fucking thing's gonna be hundreds of feet
Yeah,
high,
you gotta hit it for 25 over
Yeah.
the wall or whatever it is.
right? And if you're going, you know, like it can change who you're even if and it does, but you know, if one field has great dimension for left-handed hitters, and you go out and trade for them, you're inflating this guy's stats when really he's just lucky he's on that team. Like,
Yeah.
what if Wayne Gretzky was shooting at some nets that were 3 feet bigger?
Yeah. And
Right,
it was his
I don't-
home net.
Yeah,
If his home
if it's
ranked
home,
net-
yeah, home net, yeah, right, because it's inches. They're
Yeah.
out there. Think of how many play. It's a great catch when an outfielder goes and catches one like just going over the wall and saves a home run, but they're a dime a dozen now,
Yeah.
right? They're a dime a dozen. So that's how close. So if you're talking a matter of like 10 or 15 feet in that area that someone tends to hit it to,
Yeah.
right? They're literally their major league statistics can be completely different because their dimensions are different than yours, and you're in the minors.
Yeah.
Because this difference of 4 fucking feet, and you're in the minors and I'm not. And not only am I not in the minors, I just got 42 home runs.
So maybe
Right?
maybe what we do is we petition the NBA to just the home arenas can just put the height whatever they want
Yeah.
before the game.
Maybe
So-
that's
so-
an answer.
So if what's this guy's name? The guy who came
Victor Wembanyama.
in. Yeah. So if you got Vic's coming in instead of the 10-foot nets, man, you bring him up to 11.5 feet. Just that game, and then they'll have to play it that way. That's
So
what it is.
everybody's on a relative level.
Exactly.
It is the
And then he's
same.
on the bench.
It's kind of the same thing.
And it's a shooter's game.
No one pays. Yeah, imagine if imagine if baseball was starting now and you proposed that idea. They'd say, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Yeah, we're just going to, by the way, all these rules need to be like fucking perfect. And the bases have to be like right down to the millimeter, man. They're out there before the game. It's got to be perfect. The
Yeah.
bases have to be perfect. Everything. The dugout has to be a certain amount of feet from the fucking batter's box. The on-deck circle it's down to a science, the millimeter. You couldn't get a fucking tick here in the wrong direction. And yet, don't worry about it. Just, down the line, the actual field, we don't give a fuck. Put the fence wherever you want to put it. This is fucking crazy. You would say no one would agree to that. No owner right now, but you don't even think about it when you watch baseball.
No. Yeah. That's it.
Now, I like that about it.
the
I'm not
creativity.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do like it, and I like that we're at the point that no one even questions it because it's been going on for so
Yeah.
long.
You ever play in Europe where the rinks are just like way bigger?
I have, yeah.
It's such a different thing. Well, even countryside. We play in countryside. It's an interesting side rink, but
Yeah, it is.
it makes such a difference, man. I played in Europe for a year, and like it's just it makes the game completely different.
It's completely different.
It's like I'm
yeah.
playing field hockey.
It's completely different. I thought it's weird because I thought at first with so much open ice it would lead to more goals, but there's
Mhm.
not like a lot more goals per game. It's just maybe
It's
it's
less physical.
yeah, but like there's a medium ground. Like here's one thing. honestly, come on, I like fighting in hockey. I did it, but I didn't really like the guys that just could, like, knowing that I was out there fighting guys that couldn't stand up on their skates, like, you know.
Mhm.
But that narrowed it down. Like, I don't mind the fighting the bigger guys. There's some are really good at it. Some are like Bob Probert was a big guy that was an NHL All Star.
Mhm.
But like, I won't name names because these are members of the same union I was in and everything. But there's players that the ice gets a bit bigger, they can't chase you
Mhm.
around, right? Now that separates the survival of the fittest. Okay, now, and I know that I could play. That's why I went 8th overall.
Mhm.
And I know that Shane Doan and Jerome McGinley, guys that I grew up playing with and against, and Sheldon Surrey, these are good players. No matter how big the ice is, if you fuck around, there's going to be a fight at some point because but we don't need it every whistle to be chased down by
Mhm.
some guy that couldn't lace our fucking skates, right? And there was in the NHL players playing like that. But I noticed over there that they just wouldn't be able to keep up,
No.
right? They'd
Yeah.
go. Some guys went over with the resume, and they just
Yeah.
players that played in the NHL for 10 years and then get cut from like the English
Yeah.
elite league because
Yeah.
they can't keep up.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I hate? And I can't get used to earlier
Peanut butter.
when I said, "Well, I can't. I'm allergic to that now." I fucked up, years ago when I went on that reality show. Took it to an extreme. Told you I ate like we went through it earlier, like what I ate for years, and like it was more to keep my weight down. But so I ate a lot of protein. But
Peanut butter.
it's not healthy to have like bacon and chicken and steak in the same day. And
Pork's not even that good to eat. That's
no,
I'm just starting to learn a lot about that. Pork's like, stay away from pork.
yeah, and I never. It was all about my weight, and I knew that if I ate mostly protein and I got my carbs, I'd base it around like going on. So I'm like, okay, I just went on the ice. I'm only eating protein. I just went on the ice for 2 hours, went hard. Now I'll have maybe a sandwich. That's how I'll get my carbs or whatever. And I go and I just had it down to a science. But yeah, my doc called me and it's like, fuck, man, your cholesterol's through the roof. You can't eat like that.
Yeah.
So then it became more conscious of where, when, and what I'm eating. When is a big thing too.
When's a big thing? Yeah.
But anyway, so thing that I hate, even when I just opened up and I subconsciously went, I said, oh, this is my co-star. Not hate, but I find it uncomfortable. Here's other things I find uncomfortable. Calling a human being your highness, your worship. I Are there any words that fit? Like, I find that awkward. I don't find doctor awkward. It's weird.
Wait.
So it's not like a label. Well, you ever have to call like a judge or someone your highness or no, not a royalty, I guess. I've never had to say the words your highness, but people do. Or your worship. I find them,
Give me an example.
if you were to meet a member of royalty from, I don't know, Papua New Guinea, the Prince of Papua New Guinea tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
He's here watching Sudbury. You'd go up and say, I'd say, like, if Steve and Larry were with him, you'd go, hey, Steve, hey, Larry. But I'd have to say to him, hey, your highness.
You find that awkward?
Not awkward. I don't think it's needed. I don't like that.
What would you call him?
Dave, whatever the fuck his name is. I'd rather just
Sir Dave?
And if I was on that side of it, I wouldn't want to be called your highness.
No?
No. I know.
What would you want to be
I don't
called?
know what it is. It's like an obvious separation of classes for no reason.
What would
It's
you
just
want to
like,
be
why
called?
are you my fucking highness? Your highness? Highness. Are you better than me? Why don't you call me fucking king? And I say I get my back up. It's maybe an old school thing.
Right.
Maybe I like fables when the townspeople take over the royalty. I don't know.
Happens a lot in the Bible.
Well,
Just
it might happen a little bit in the Bible. Of course, there's relatable stories
I get
in
what you're
lots of
saying.
books. Yeah, and like judges, aren't they your worship?
That I don't know.
Are other people your
No,
worship?
I don't know. I think
Yeah, judges are your worship,
you have to
and I find
you have
that
to
retarded.
phrase it your worship. You say to them your worship.
Yeah,
Like Judge Judy. You go into Judge Judy and you say, your worship, I'm here today. Blah blah blah.
I think so. We can find the answer right now.
think-
My
I
phone's charging. Do you have your phone on you?
I mean, yeah. So
Well,
like, okay.
I think we can find the answer. Yeah, and I find that, like, I know, whatever. It was hard work being a judge, but it's hard work being a fucking welder.
Your Honor.
It's hard work, Your Honor. Okay, and who do you call your worship? You do say Your Honor. I know you say Your Honor, but it's like a priest. You say Father. Like I used to call him Father a lot, but I'd also say Brother Estrada. Hey, Father, brother.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing. I think you say Your Worship as
Yeah.
well too. But let's see. Who do you call Your Worship?
What does the title Your Worship mean in law? There will probably be better answers in mine, but our legal system in most English-speaking jurisdictions, Latin terms, medieval Europe. I guess it's just like another word for
Your Honor.
For Your Honor, yeah. But I haven't heard.
I
Your
find,
worship
but I'd rather Your Honor than Your Worship.
yeah.
But there's just something about it, and I don't know.
Yeah. How'd that come up? Like, what were you like watching a YouTube video or something?
Well, when did I ask you to be on this show this morning? Right. So, because what I'm realizing here is that we're about to enter the grind I talked about. So
Right.
I'm not just going to have the option to be doing my podcast whenever I want. I did one on Tuesday. I needed to do one today, maybe tomorrow. And I'm starting to, so I said, I don't even have a guest yet. But that for that reason, I can't say to someone, hey, you want to come on my show? Well, we might do it Friday or Saturday. I'll let you know in 15 minutes notice. So I said, Fish is a good guy to talk to. I'll have him down. And I was just, I was watching YouTube, catching myself up with highlights and then watching possible movies. I'm trying to chip away at a movie every 2 days, like either a classic. Even that's education, right? I'm always chasing. I want to be a little bit smarter for some reason.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to two things, I'll watch the one that's
more historical.
I guess
like
if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like I watched. Anyway, so that's why. So I just wrote these down. And I sometimes I joke. I like having like 2 puffs of a joint. I have a one hitter, so maybe one even inhale, and then I'll have half a coffee, and that's my little formula. My brain is working slightly. There's slightly different neurons being triggered or whatever it is that I can get into that mode, and things that I wouldn't normally think to ask you, I'd ask. So that's where these questions come from. Now, speaking of that, so what I did a couple weeks ago, have you ever seen the movie Reservoir Dogs?
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever seen the movie The Thing?
Yes.
So I
think so.
I hadn't seen The Thing. What happens in The Thing in the early 80s, I think it's 1981. Kurt Russell, it's one of his first movies. They're at like North Pole, for lack of a better way. They're up in the Arctic somewhere, and they're at this maybe military station, but they're working up there for a reason. And okay, there we go. Here we are. So what happens is that the thing can attach onto any mammal, anything living, and take its form.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know how in like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, or even Aliens, I love Aliens, just saw that for the first time. You know, what happens is that they kind of pluck off each member one by one, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. So that's also kind of what's happening in The Thing. But The Thing is based on fear, where it could be either one of them, right? The people in Friday the 13th know that they're there. They're a team. They can defend it against it, even though it's going to come down to one of them at the end.
Yeah.
But on The Thing, you're looking around going, okay, wait, you could be the thing. You could be. So it's all paranoia. And it's like as much self-destruction as it is the thing destroying them, right? And you get that, folks, if you haven't seen it. I'm not much of a spoiler that you're privy to that 10 minutes into the movie. So, but Reservoir Dogs, he was interviewed. I see this recent interview, and he talks about how he based it on The Thing. And he said, no, but really though, if you look at it, because he goes, Reservoir Dogs is also, it's fear because there's a rat.
Yeah.
The rat's planted, there's a rat in the room. And now they're all, and they disintegrate as much as the mob life disintegrate, like kills them. It's like, so, and he goes, so it's directly based on it. He goes, if you go scene for scene, it's very, very, very similar to, he goes, I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite. And I didn't see it like that.
Wow.
And so that's why when I'm on the fence, right? So I'm almost watching these interviews. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. I mean, I listen to Smartless, Rob Lowe. They're all actors.
Right.
So that's what I'm kind of doing. I'm going, okay, because it can only benefit me to watch The Thing. It's a good movie,
Yeah.
and
So you haven't watched The Thing yet.
I did.
Okay.
I finally watched it
Okay.
just a couple weeks ago.
And it makes sense.
For that reason,
Yeah.
yeah. I watched it, and as I was thinking about watching it, I just Googled it, and the first thing came up was Quentin Tarantino talking about it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, okay. So same thing with Aliens. I'd heard, I know the Alien and like Covenant came out a couple years ago, but I really didn't know. And speaking of that, you know how like recently even like I don't know Wonder Woman, like they started to do, which they should, but you know like superhero movies were always guys and everything, and there started to be now like Mrs. and Avengers, whatever it is. She got her own movie with the franchise, and so did Wonder Woman. And Sigourney Weaver's the lead. Like she was, she's Alien. She's the lead. Like there's no one even close. Like she's the hero. She's the gritty. Like she's the protagonist. Is that what that word is?
Yeah.
And it's just I just thought for that reason it's way no one ever brings that up. I'm like, so they're all heralding all these new films that are led by women as the first time it ever happened. So I, you know, sometimes you learn a lot about like a period of time or a movie, not even through the movie itself. That's why I often say to Penny Lane, like if we watch old movies, you're not just picking up that, you're seeing the way society just inadvertently, they don't mean to do it. You're just seeing the words that they use and everything, right? Right. You can follow your way through history. Well, it said a lot to me because it's like 1981. And I remember being 4 and 5 years old, and there weren't a lot of women that were leading roles. I tell you that. It was all about Rocky and fucking Predator, who was Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis came on the scene, right? There was women in movies, but it was like Meryl Streep in some great performance, but it just wasn't as much of like action stars weren't women. Anyway, I thought it was an observation worth.
It didn't come around till probably what, like the early, like I guess early 2000s. Would you say probably there were women?
I would think, you know, it's, and if you see, this is what I'm talking about. Like if you obviously, you know, most people that I associate with, unless it's secret, I don't think they're racist. I'm not racist at all. But if you so just putting that racism is bad, and it is, but putting that aside in a box and just looking at it from a very objective point of view, that's what I was saying to Penny Lane. I mean, if you look back, black people are playing, or white people are playing black people in blackface, because that's what's so the movie is not trying to tell you that, but that's what society was like at the time. Look what black people had to go through. So you're learning as much watching this as you are reading a history book,
Right.
because what you're seeing is that they weren't allowed to act in those roles, which is fucking insane, right? If you go back, women's suffrage, so women only earned the right to vote. The right to vote in the 20s, 1920s. Like, fuck. What is that? Right? You're almost embarrassed for people that came before. How do you tell a fucking gender that they can't vote?
Yeah.
But again, if you watch a Charlie Chaplin movie, you will see that, right? You because it comes up in the words that they're using. Well, this old silent movies, but he did one called Modern Times, and it's about going to the factories and always being watched, and none of the women having jobs. Way ahead of its time. But like I said, you're learning it. If you watch any movie that came after the atom bomb was dropped, and if it's not referred to, it's the plot, right? It's just the way it goes. Anyway, I think that's all I have to really straight up talk about. And that was interesting. I did most of the talking again.
Wow, that's all right. It's your podcast, Tales with TR, right?
It is, but you're the guest. Anyway, people know that at this point. That's how I deal with anxiety. It's not true, but you know, I often say, I'm like, the anxiety that I get is just a lot of it, because it often get like, I don't want any special treatment for it, or like, I don't mean to use it as an affliction. When I learned early on to, like, you know, if I have anxiety at night, I just like write a fucking story, or try to use it if you harness that energy in a positive way, it becomes less worrisome, right? So when I say anxiety, it's not always like I'm worried. It's like I have nervous energy that needs to like come out.
Well, they say excitement and anxiety releases the same hormone in your body. Fun fact for you. So
really,
I mean, you might want to check with the doctor before you believe what Fish says, but that's what I've learned in my travels.
That's real interesting. Yeah, I would, because when you say that, and I'd be being is that serotonin maybe? Like, because I guess
Cortisol?
drugs could. Oh, okay, maybe certain drugs could do it too.
Yeah. But yeah, that's you ever get before a game, you get anxious, right? You get nervous. You're also excited, before it's an equal thing.
It's funny because
Before a vacation, you're nervous because you got travel, you got to get through the border. There's things you got to do, but hey, you're also excited because you can get somewhere. It's a little destination.
that's true. It's a lot of perspective. Again, if you go back to the philosophers, right back, the philosopher kings. I'm really into Socrates, Aristotle,
Did Plato kill
and
himself?
Plato.
I think Plato might have killed himself. Anyways,
I don't think he did.
one of those.
Plato was Socrates.
Maybe Socrates. Did.
Socrates was first, and his famous quote at first was, "All I know for sure is that I know nothing."
Yeah.
In other words, we got to get. And then he came up with the dialectic because people were at odds. So he said, "Look, so that's why, again, I'm going to explain this really simple, but like his thoughts, and were that." That's why you hear the band, the Philosopher Kings. What they're referring to is like philosophers would go almost like lawmakers now, and they would so they would talk about things, almost argue, and be debating all day. But even though they were arguing, which I wish people heard now, like he would say the dialect, we're not going to get any further
Right.
unless we do this, right? And you're going to say something amongst all this fucking shit that you're telling me that I disagree with, but you're going to say something that I do agree with. And now how are we going to? So in order to, we are going to find money to make the bridge if we do this the right way. Now I know you guys don't want the fucking bridge, and we want the bridge, but you guys need money. Now where are we going to meet in the middle, right? And so to be like, rather than go to war, so I guess the people would be voting for philosophers, kind of like now, like to represent them, and then they would go in the mornings and have their coffee, get ready, and put on their robes or whatever, and then they would talk about matters that would be brought up, very, very similar to today's government, but that's what they would do.
So like kind of like a democracy a little bit.
It's the beginnings of that, and the first university, Plato.
Well,
I know.
So I know there's a little storyline that Alexander the Great was he was raised. I think his dad was the king of somewhere, and his dad got one of the Greek philosophers to teach his son from a really early age about philosophy and peace and how to do all those things. And then he became the great. He conquered so much. But I do want to say this: there comes a point in this knowledge game where I'm not discrediting knowledge. Knowledge is great to have. We learn a lot of cool things.
Knowledge is power. One of the philosophers said that. I think it was Rene Descartes.
Knowledge with action is power, I think, is what we're learning.
Then what is knowledge? Because if knowledge is, I'm thinking knowledge like facts. Yeah. See, then you could break it down and go, well,
you could go deep into that.
Yeah, you can know a lot about something, but they're not real facts.
Well, so I think through my experiences and what I'm starting to learn quite a bit is too much information, too much knowledge, too much needing to know and needing to understand and needing to comprehend instead of just getting to the point where it's just like, let me just experience. I think is the fault of our society. I think is going to be the fault of all our things. Let the knowledge and everything be left up to AI and just try to experience life.
But wait, what do you mean? The knowledge left up to AI? Because how do you know then it's knowledge?
I'm saying maybe I shouldn't have said it like that, but I'm saying that there's a certain level, a threshold of like you're almost like getting into too much information, like reading all the books and learning all the things and getting all the degrees and upgrading your knowledge. Like when does it get to a point, and this is actually more of a question, like when does it get to a point where like that's enough?
I think with this, I think we're at it. Why? Because this is the way. The more
I feel like it's way too
what
much
I didn't say was I think the way AI is going to get us is that facts aren't facts, so nothing's real anymore.
Right. Yeah,
there is no.
That's it.
There's no truth.
Right.
Right. And we're in that. Look, I don't want to get into it politically, but I guess I got to refer to something. So look, I'm really in the center. If I was in the United States, I graduated there. I know it's what's happening in the world. It's probably a little bit more relevant than what's happening in Canada. It's very important in Canada. Of course, I vote, I pay attention, but I'm just using that for an example. Now, I get it, Democrat side, Republican side, for example, there's all kinds of things I agree with as Republicans. I won't even get into examples. And there's all kinds of things that I agree with as Democrats. That's why if I would vote, it wouldn't be like tied to a party. I think that's insane because you're just saying I'm going to do whatever they do, and that's silly. I would listen to each candidate. They're not really that far apart. If you really, really break it down, the things that they're arguing about are just a lot of it's silly. But when it comes to actual legislation, right? Like, the things that people generally agree we need a fire department and we need to pay for it. You might say socialism sucks. Yeah, but you need to pay for that, right? Certain things you need to pay for. Public service, how are we going to do it? You might say, but, we need jails. We need schools need to, you might argue about what's they're teaching, but generally we have 12 grades, whatever, and then university. I'm saying generally everybody kind of agrees with the way society's going. But it's been proven. I know I'm going to lose listeners when I say this because I always do, but I don't believe the election in the United States was stolen. I don't believe that, and nobody believes it. The people that Donald Trump actually, like the people that he chose to run the courts, to his own Republicans, like it's just facts. They weren't. Now you could argue everything, but so millions and millions and millions of people, some of whom I'm talking to now, like I said, will never listen again. I'm not even saying I believe this. There's things, but it's true. Look at any just normal journal or doesn't take a deep dive. The election was not stolen. Half the Republicans are saying that because they know it's true. But this is what I mean. So, but the ones that believe it would say, well, that's my knowledge. And I'll say, well, my knowledge is right what I'm saying now. And they're saying, well, no, Donald Trump, I'd follow him everywhere and he's telling us the truth. So, right now there's 30 million people that think it was. Now democracy itself is being challenged because the people literally, and right now, like he's going to go to jail and he's leading the polls. That's when I think that's just one example of what's happening now as this starts to surface. AI as time, and if he can do that as a human, really, I mean, he did a lot of it, put those ideas in people's minds. But now, if I go to Facebook, for example, the bubble that I'm in, the clicks that I go, they will tell me articles based on that. And for every reason that I told you it didn't happen, you're going to read that it did. For every person that I can give you 15 articles now that say we didn't land on the moon, right? Like when you brought up Alexander the Great and Marcus Aurelius, and there's people back then that Alexander the Great, I think, was big for like knowledge, and he there was like libraries that he installed and made sure that there was books and
came from the Greek philosophers.
Oh yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. So back then, Stephen Hawking wrote about this in one of his papers. I read it through Time magazine excerpt. Okay, but yeah, I don't sit there reading Stephen Hawking's papers, but he said, like back then, say it was a real benefit and the books that they were going in to read, there was, like Plato would always say, so his thing was like, what is reality and what's the truth? So we got to be, that was based on it. So that's why they would, and books would be written, and there's what we know, geography and history, and basically it's hard not to slander or twist something, but for the most part it was to seek actual knowledge, like about our earth, about our people, about our laws. So, and if you were able to be taught to read, it was a privilege, right? You find out at 11 years old that you're going to go to a school that you're going to read, and your parents would rejoice. You'd come at it back at 16, the leader of the family, everything else. Like it was a big, big, big privilege. And now we have the libraries of Alexander plus everything else in our hand at any time. We can do. Yet there are more flat earthers than ever now. Right now, flat earthers, there are tens of thousands of them. Just that, I think the documentary on Netflix is called Beyond the Arc or something. It's wild. So if we have access to all that knowledge, yet, now again, there's probably people that listen to this that really think the earth is flat. I say it's not, but
who knows?
Who knows? So I know, but maybe I don't. So, you know what I mean? So, and they're all going to say that. So if that, and that's something as obvious, I only use that because if that's the earth being flat and we can't agree on that, and you really think that you're right, that is your knowledge, we're fucked. If it's right in front of us, we got the technology to see right in front of us, and I'm going to tell you that isn't happening, and you're going to believe it, then where are we going to go from there?
I Really put me on the spot there, Tia. I think
I'm not saying you think there is. I'm just having the
no.
conversation.
But I'm
I find
saying,
it scary.
but I'm saying it from a generalist standpoint, whether you believe flat Earth or not, like from a generalist standpoint, the idea that one thing is 100% true isn't like you can't prove that.
Now you're going right into exactly what Aristotle would say
You
with
know,
the
like,
apple. Is this what
like
is this
how,
apple? What
what's
makes an
then
apple
you're
an
going
apple?
into such an existential interpretation of life. You can't even fathom that. Now, did you take a rocket ship and go right up and see it yourself?
No.
You're basing it on scientists and technological and leaders of our world. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right, but you're putting your trust in something. You know?
Yeah.
So at some level, at some degree, your belief system is just blind faith.
Now see, I agree. But that's what they would say. So what you're doing now is being very articulate and being very diplomatic, and you're great at it. You're proving my point. You can explain. That's right. So if everything then, so then you can just start going, okay, well, Justin Trudeau's an alien.
Maybe
Maybe he is.
Maybe he is.
And you're okay. Put it this way: we've got lots of things out there. Let's just break it down then, Terry. Okay, there's all these shows on aliens. So let's rule out it's not 100%. He's not an alien. No, okay. So whatever you think of his politics, he could be an alien. Then he can't be in there, right? No, for sure. Well, we got to get the alien out of the fucking. Definitely, he can't be the prime minister. Obviously, being an alien, and then that goes somewhere, and then eventually it ends up in a week from now.
Yeah.
Well, no, it'll, and even if it's crazy that he's an alien, but you might say, well, he was exposed to aliens. So you might hear the story back and go, well, listen, he's like that because he's exposed to aliens. Seriously.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, for me, the most dangerous part, of the whole AI is finding out, and by extension, it doesn't have to be political, like you
Right.
said. Someone can come on there. They showed, like it was on with the news the other night, one of the channels. They showed the guys like, this is not me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show you what AI can do.
Yeah.
And you could tell if you really looked, like, for a second, but if that's where we are now, he goes, now this just started.
Yeah.
And most of you can't tell the difference. He goes, at the end, there's a little bit of a wink you can tell, but other than, and I'm like,
and I
yeah,
believe
right.
it hasn't just started. I believe they think that that's just my belief system.
Yeah.
I believe that
So if I can say, if you can make me say anything,
yeah,
and
100%.
then what in the fuck? Yeah, where's that going to go? And you saw the robots that they're building that look like humans. Okay. So now put that technology, and that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Okay. My great grandmother, was born in 1899. She had to take a horse to get to the fucking store when the milkman dropped off milk once a week. Like, no electricity. By the time she's 70, there's people walking around on the moon.
And now we have Neuralink.
So now if this just started, and we then where's it going to be in even 5 years, let alone 70 more years, let alone 700 more years? Like, and time is, we look at it like humans, like 700 years is nothing. That's nothing.
I was listening to a podcast with Lex Friedman and
I listen to Lex Friedman too.
And Levy Grossman. He's a Gotham chess. I'm big into chess right now. I can talk about chess for a while now. And he's interviewing him, and he says, well, what do you think about, because right now in the chess world, AI is big. They call them stockfish. Stockfish is like the computer generated system that knows all the moves before you do, And he said, well, I run tests to see how stockfish does against himself. And then Lex says, well, what if, like, for a cheating measure, you had a process that AI, like, you used AI to play chess, like whether it's a cheat, like, let's say it's over the board stuff, and you had like a little vibrator in your armpit or something, and it just vibrated twice to bring the knight to e4, whatever. So, and Levy said, at that point, you're not using AI. AI is using you. If you really think about the process of that, we aren't using AI. It's going to get to a point now where AI is playing that whole chess game.
And I think we are
you're
almost
being
there.
the one. You think you're the one moving he's like, oh, knight to e4. But I see this. And he's like, okay, I'll move knight to e4. You see 5 moves ahead as a grandmaster in chess. Stockfish finished the game. He's already known every algorithm, every process, everything that's going on before you even know that knight has to move to e4 in a split second. And I'm using this example to illustrate the fact that you think that we're using AI. You think that we're using ChatGPT. You think we're using the cell phones to gain this knowledge and whatever. The algorithm on your Instagram is using you.
So what you just see, for this reason, I don't think we can stop. We have to, but
or we can stop it and then
no, but we're not going
to.
No one's going to stop. We need to. We need to
I mean,
battle it. No, I mean you would, but you know it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
And all the inventions come out like the
It's
ad,
not
like
gonna stop.
Albert Einstein and company weren't looking to go to war when they learned how to split the atom. They're trying to come up with nuclear fission and how can we use energy and nuclear energy in a positive way. But it's always either weaponized or turns out. Even look at what we've done.
Evil by nature.
I thought about it the other day. Look at what we've done with sex. That's what we like. Look, open up like any kid that, because anything. At some point you're gonna get. I used to fucking go to my buddy. I found out where his parents kept the fucking VCRs, man, and we would figure out a way to get in there. And it was so we saw it. But now you got anything, and it's all fucking crazy. It can't get any people pissing on each other and spitting in each other's face.
And you
what's crazy? Fucking whore. And I'm like, this is how people see sex now. I think sex changed it. No, I'm not saying you can be kinky to be into whatever you want, but when all the worst of the worst, because that's what happens, that's what's popular, is it comes up first. You go to Pornhub or one of those, it's just, look what we've done. Look what we've done.
And the craziest part of this is, I don't know if you know how easy it is to wipe the internet off some things, but there's people out there that monitor the internet and they can take something off in an instant. If they really wanted to regulate sexual morality, porn wouldn't be a thing. There's a hidden agenda behind that. If you really think, if you're getting into something serious, I don't think that there's an accident that there's people pissing at each other on Pornhub like that. I don't think that's an accident.
But that's what's popular, because people get kinky. They're sick of their job at home.
There's a dark web for all that.
But why
is it on the main stuff? Why can my 8-year-old cousin take an iPad and find that right now? I don't agree with
because but I know what you're saying, but like whenever it's a hidden agenda, like the they is big. Who's they? Right? Who is they? Whenever someone says they, you got to really be. It's like when people go they with COVID. I'm like, if I know one thing, Donald Trump and Joe Biden certainly don't want to be in the same room. Any of their followers want to kill each other. They didn't come up with anything with COVID. They are trying to do this. I'm like,
there's a regulatory.
I get how it could have come out of a laboratory accidentally, and I get that within that.
I
get that conspiracies happen, and I get that big pharma and everything makes money, but I don't think there's a they. Like Biden gets there and goes, okay, listen, take all the Republicans in, and here's what we're going to do. Doesn't matter. We're all going to put this fucking scam, right? And you from the United Nations, you come. I don't think there's a they like that. I think money runs a lot of things, and there can be conspiracies, and certain people work together. But for big things like that, like for internet porn, that would have to be a big they.
I think there's a regulatory process that
there definitely is that can be swayed with money. I believe that.
Yeah. So I think, at the end of that rope and at the end of that chain, there is a they. There is a governing body, and that's.
I thought you meant like all the governments in all the world.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying they, as in, so there's decision makers, bro. There's decision makers that have a capacity to limit what certain people see.
I know, but how would you limit it?
There's a process that look at what.
What is it?
How'd you put somebody on the moon?
I know what you mean, but
I don't know how they put somebody on the moon.
Okay, but how would
before they put somebody on the moon? I would probably say
I know what you're saying, but until you come up with an answer of how. Now it could be what, like logging in and getting a what? If I was a kid, like
you say, like how do you sports bet? You have to show your ID.
Totally. Now that
banking system, you can't just log on to sports betting and just put your debit card on there. There's a process to limit.
That right there, I totally agree with. Yes.
Okay, so then how come it takes that to gamble and spend money, but yet it's just
I think
button say yeah,
because I think there's a level of like free speech to it. Not free speech, but that amendment. You know what I mean? I think there's a level. You're asking me the answer. I'm not arguing for it.
I know.
I think if you I think like if you're like those porn companies and everything, I think if you had a good lawyer, you could weave that writing, like, like, okay, wait, it's like, look, it's like, I don't like Nazis, but I can't throw somebody out of, like, I can't be down there if someone's next to me saying, fuck the Jews, I hate them, I'm a Nazi, go Hitler. I can't get him kicked out of the hotel for saying that. I don't agree with it. I
Right.
should, because that's bad. Something's going to happen bad. We really know it. Someone could say, fuck the N-words,
Right.
right? And you're like, okay, something's going to happen here. But again, because of free speech, and it has to be there to protect you,
Yeah.
right? Because certain times you need free speech, but you have to include all of that. I think maybe that would have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, now I get what you're saying, but I just think that at the end of the day, I think there's, and this is just one part of it, that the porn industry is
I
a
agree
huge
with
part
you.
of it. You know,
I mean,
there's a couple of,
but it's changed, like that one little thing, I think, that you don't even think of would have changed. Like, I don't know, man. My daughter, she's dated boys. She's 13. She came to me last year, like, really nervous. Dad, like you said, I could tell you anything. Well, like, I don't know, like, we're gonna go to a dance. I'm like, yeah, I'll go pick him up. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. It's part of life, Penny Lane.
Yeah.
Like, I can't deny that. But I often wonder, right? I try to tell her, I'm like, just some things on the internet are blown up, and especially when it comes to that. I don't need to be part of. You make your own decisions. I'm just telling you that that's not the way it is.
Yeah, I see a lot of people's mental and emotional stability crumbled right now as a result of their addictions, and mainly the addictions form from a lot of things online. And I don't want to speak too negative. I mean, we had a good podcast. I don't want to go too much deep into that, but I just think that at the end of the day, there needs to be some sort of regulatory factor, and then move on from there. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Even I think in our lifetime, knock on wood here, that we live a long, healthy life. I think there's a lot to see. I'll use the word intriguing. That's not positive or negative, and I think it will be intriguing. As was this conversation. Fish, do you have anything to Jacob Smith? Do you have anything to promote or say before we head out? We got to go practice, I guess, do we?
Oh yeah, pretty soon. No, honestly, I just enjoy our conversations as always, TR. And
okay, brother.
Yeah, that's it.
It was great to have you on again, folks. If you're in St. John's, Newfoundland, and you're downtown, you want to grab a beer, do it at Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, Martini Bar, Bull and Barrel, of course, Greensleeves. And if you go to Greensleeves, check out the great music led by Dave White himself. And upstairs, there's a great 5-star restaurant called Loose Tie. It's one of my favorites, very underrated. Go to Loose Tie, see what all the fuss is about. If you want a bite to eat in and around town, why not go to Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, or Wedgwood Cafe? Wedgwood Cafe also caters. Look, contact Peter Wedgwood, Wedgwood Cafe on Elizabeth Avenue. Strength and balance for the body and mind. Ryan Power Conditioning. Check it out. I'm living proof. Ryan is awesome at what he does. He motivated me last year and pointed me in a direction that there's nothing but positive vibes and positive for my body. Ryan is an ex-professional hockey player who works with Alex Newhook, Abby Newhook, Maggie Connors and company, some of the best athletes and hockey players in Newfoundland. Mr. Lube, 2 locations, Kenmount Road and Torbay Road. See Chris Sparks. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief, pitbullpainrelief.com. The pain sticks that just don't quit. Check it out. True Hockey, take what's yours. Thanks to Corey Gregory and the team at True Hockey. I'm loving my gear and my sticks that just showed up in a couple of days. Folks, I'm out of here. Fish is out of here. We got to go do some rehearsals right now. Some 3-on-3. Be teammates again. Okay, I'm out of here, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This has been 178B Tales with TR. I'll be back in just a couple of days. Catch you on the rebound.